All right, guys. So, welcome to a special YouTube exclusive episode of the iPoke podcast. So today we have MMA TikToker, not MMA news TikToker. I'm not sure exactly the category you put him in, but he's doing the best at it. Whatever you call it, he's doing the best at it. He's got 25 on TikTok right now. He has 25.1K followers, over 1 million likes. Gabe Bench, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. So we figured, we'd basically just talk about all the stuff going on in the MMA world right now. Basically, I want to start off with the first topic is the big mess that the heavyweight division is. Right? We had Francis Ngannou beat Miocic for the title about 3 months ago now. I want to say, right? 3 months. About
yeah,
that.
close about
4
that
months.
time. Yeah,
4.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we had that happen, and all of a sudden, Dana White is doing everything but booking John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Me and Giancarlo always laugh in here because every time we talk about this, we just go on big rants. Just how much BS we think it is. Gabe? What do you think about the mess of the heavyweight division? Like, what do you think that what's the direct? If you had to choose a direction to go in with the division, what direction would you choose?
Oof. I mean, as it stands right now, you can't really undo any changes. So I guess you kind of just have to go with 265. So it's like, and then I would say you book Stipe and John, because even Stipe was offered the fight by Dana like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to move the division along, go with Stipe and John. Like, it's a good entry level fight for the heavyweight division for John. And yeah, that would be a good direction so that it kind of everyone gets moving too. Because he kind of shot himself in the foot with this whole interim title situation because 265 didn't have a pay-per-view big pay-per-view main event. That's probably why it happened. Let's be real. The reason why it was booked for the interim heavyweight title was because 265 did not have a big pay-per-view draw, and it was going to be Nunes versus Pena. Because initially, Francis was offered the fight versus Derek Lewis, and he was already in training camp.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what doesn't make sense to me is just why it was that interim title was made. I guess they couldn't agree to contractual negotiations in the end. But yeah, Francis said he was already in camp for the fight.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was just very weird.
Giancarlo, what do you think, bro?
Bullshit, bro. All that is bullshit, man. It's simple. For me, it's simple, bro. It is simple. Fuck Derek Lewis. Fuck Cyril Gane. Fuck all these guys, bro. It's Francis Ngannou versus John Jones. That's the fight to make.
Well, of course it's the fight to make. Of course, everyone knows that's the fight to make. But it's also of course that's the fight.
Dana White not wanting to pay. That's the thing. It's Dana White not wanting to pay John Jones the money he deserves, and maybe even Francis, because Francis might be asking for a big amount of money now. Since he's the champ now, and he deserves it.
I think so because Dana White used to be very high on Francis. He was all Francis, and then he lost to Stipe, then he lost to Lewis, and then he was just
Yeah.
It's been him and Francis' relation has been a little iffy. So yeah.
Yeah, I think
true.
Dana White got pissed off with Francis after when he lost to Stipe for the title. I think his attitude, the way he was going, I think Dana lost respect to him and then said, "Yeah, fuck this guy." But it just makes no sense to me. John Jones, he's been in the game for how long? And he deserves a big paycheck, even though he might be a dickhead outside the MMA world. But when it comes to in the octagon, he's a beast, he's an animal. So pay the man what he deserves, make a big fight with Francis. Because at the end of the day, bro, Gabriel, do you want to see Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou again? Or would you want to see Cyril Gane versus Francis? Or would you prefer to see Francis versus John Jones?
Well, of course, I'd rather see Jones versus Francis because that's the money fight right there. But it's also if we're being real tonight, Cyril Gane's gonna win. Cyril Gane's winning that fight. Come on, I really hope I don't jinx him. I don't want to come back tomorrow morning and see I'll say, oh, what did you say? He jinxed it. No. But yeah, Cyril Gane versus Francis is a more compelling matchup than him versus Lewis, in my opinion.
Yeah, we definitely me and Giancarlo talked about this in previous episodes. We've already seen Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou fight, and it was the most boring fight. It was not a good fight. It was.
Well, keep in mind that Francis just came off his loss to Stipe, so he kind of was very tentative with his shots too.
Right.
So,
no, agreed. But he's gonna be my opinion is he probably would have taken a more cautious approach against Derek Lewis as well, considering his approach to Miocic was even more cautious than we've seen before. You know what I mean? The whole when he fought Miocic, he was very more technical with his striking. Not that he wasn't technical before, but he wasn't the most technical striker compared to other fighters overall. We know that heavyweights are the least technical fighters. If you put a lot of these heavyweights in a featherweight body or lightweight body, they won't be as good as they are now, right? But I just wanted to talk about real quick. It's weird, right? So Dana White has always had this feud with John Jones. They've been off and on friends. They've hated each other. I don't think they've ever loved each other. So yeah, they've never really liked each other, right? So that is a rumor to be one of the reasons why John Jones isn't getting paid. I just want to say how funny I find that. So in the NFL, for example, imagine if like Roger Goodell didn't like Tom Brady. They didn't like each other. So he's like, yeah, Tom Brady, you're not getting that big contract. I just find it weird, how different Dana White is and all the other the faces of the companies. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good or bad thing? How he's different from everyone else?
Well, because they're independent contractors, though. That's the thing. They're independent contractors, and it's like they negotiate their contracts on a fight basis. So it's like you can't like fault Dana for doing all those things. It's like it's hard.
Yeah, no, it's definitely tricky. I just find it funny too as well how he goes in these rants about like the refs and the judges and the whole all his famous rants. Like imagine if guys like Roger Goodell, like Adam Silver just went on these complete rants right in front of the public. I just found that to be funny how it's good and bad for the sport. It's good for the sport because when you think of UFC or MMA, you probably think of Dana White. If we had anyone else that was owning the company right now, let's say if Dana White never came along and the Fertittas just decided to go along with it themselves, we may be looking at UFC and
I think
and
Dana
MMA.
White's top 2 best commissioners in the world for sports, like are heads of sports.
Who do you have at one? Just
Probably Silver and Dana are like interchangeable for 1 and 2 because Silver is just so good.
Yeah,
but
Giancarlo, just you're talking about Adam Silver, I'm assuming. So
yeah.
He's talking about the NBA, Giancarlo. Because I know you don't watch basketball much. You British people don't know shit about basketball. It's all right.
I have no clue. I don't know.
So because Dana's done so much for the sport in terms of just growing it. Like he's a marketing genius. Say what you want about him. Say what you want about the pay, the this, the that. I don't care. Like I will always give Dana the most applause for everything that he's done in UFC and MMA. There is no one like him. There will never be anyone like him. And when he retires as president of the UFC, whenever that is, the person replacing him won't be as good in terms of like strategic like strategy and stuff for the UFC in terms of growing the sport. Like he built MMA. He is MMA, and without him, we are not in the same position that we are like today. He knows how to build stars. He knows how to market. He knows how to market smaller stars too, and he's just so good at his job that honestly, like the criticism, it's just like, it is what it is. Like he doesn't care anymore, but he doesn't care about the criticism because he knows that he's the best person for the job and no one else is going to do the job better than him.
Yeah. No
one else can do it. Yeah.
It's like, what's the alternative? You know what I mean? You want Scott Coker to run UFC? UFC be the most boring. Yeah. It'd be the most boring company in the world. Scott Coker ran it. 100%.
He had the lead in Strikeforce and he blew the lead. Strikeforce was almost as good as you. Strikeforce was comparable to UFC, like very, very close.
Yeah,
and he blew it. Like they had Luke Rockhold, Nick Diaz, Robbie Lawler. They had a lot of DC, bro. They had Fedor. They had freaking Fedor, who's the biggest star on the planet.
Yep.
They had Verdun, and they blew the lead. Like, are you kidding me? Like they let the UFC beat them.
Yep.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, just want to mention a clear example of how great Dana White is look what happened since the pandemic. Every sport shut down, but UFC was still on week in, week out. He kept showing every time. So listen, this man, you can't fault him. He's a genius, as you guys mentioned. He's amazing. So as the UFC would never be the same without him. I'm happy he stayed. He's still the president, even though sometimes his decisions are a bit like, but fuck it. At the end of the day, we always get the fights we want. And that's why UFC is taking over boxing right now. Look at boxing and look at the MMA world in general.
Yeah, exactly.
So Dana White, big up Dana White, you bald-headed cunt, but still give us John Jones and and Francis, please, mate.
We
That's all I want, please.
yeah, we've never not gotten the fight we want. Like we've
That's
never
true.
not got. We never.
I
Yes.
Got,
say this is the only example, right? This is the only example. Either probably the Ngannou Jones and then the GSP Khabib fight. Even though we knew that was discussed and it was a matter of one of them of Dana allowing it. I forget what the exact situation was, but I know that was the fight was in talks, the GSP Khabib fight. But when I think back on it now, I probably don't want to see that fight.
no, because it ruins too much of the legacy of GSP and Khabib.
Yeah.
It's just like why didn't GSP and Anderson Silva fight? Listen, people like it's the same argument as to why Nunes and Valentina should not fight again. They're on their separate paths. They're on their separate legacy. Let them do their own thing.
Yeah.
And not every GOAT like current like best fighter has to fight the current best like other best fighter. Like that's just how it is. People are on their own paths. Let them be on their own paths of carving out their legacy. And so the whole super fight thing, yeah, it'll draw heads. Who's the best, whatever. But one of the fighters is going to be fighting out of their weight class.
Yeah.
So it's not fair. It's not a fair fight. I don't care what anyone says. A fighter fighting out of their the weight class they've been fighting for what 15, 20 years. That's not a fair fight. So it's like you can't like people are carving out their own legacies. Compare fighters in the same division, pound for pound. Yeah, okay. There's obviously discrepancies there, but it just let people carve out their own legacy. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Another topic I want to switch to really quick. We got a shorter episode today, guys, so we're just gonna bang through a bunch of little topics here. One of the topics I want to talk about is you're talking about weight classes, right? And it seems that Dana White is like, will never add another weight class again. Anytime someone mentions it to him, he shuts it down. He says it's ridiculous. We currently have, I think it's like 8 men's divisions and 4 women's divisions. I think that's what it's at right now. What do you think? I was talking to Brendan Schaub about this about a month and a half ago. I asked him what he thought the division, what division UFC needed more, and he gave the argument for the 165-pound division. I gave the argument for a 195-pound division just because I think that's a better sweet spot in between like guys like not maybe not necessarily 195, but like I'm not sure, a cruiserweight, like not a big heavyweight,
a big middleweight, like because they're a big middleweight or like a super middleweight.
A super middleweight. Yeah, that's why I gave the argument for like guys like maybe not John Jones, but guys like Adesanya, right? Because we see Adesanya move up to 205, and he weighed in at like what 202, like something crazy like that. What division do you think the UFC would benefit from more, and who would fit into it?
First question I gotta ask you. You know Brendan Schaub? No way, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was on his podcast. What's up with Brendan Schaub? I was on there about a month and a half ago.
That's so cool. Congratulations. But to answer your question, Schaub was what he said, the 165.
Yeah.
Could be interesting, but honestly, the weight class, like the jump to 155 to 170 is a little steep. Like, okay, for guys like Masvidal and for guys like Masvidal or Diaz or Kevin Lee, those guys would fit into that 165 really nice. And you would move 170 to 175 probably.
Yeah.
So it's in that case, 165. Who else would probably fit in there?
Probably McGregor. I always thought McGregor's a weird example because he's always floated between lightweight and welterweight. Although maybe his lightweight's perfect. Like not everyone has to move, right? So I'm not sure. Connor's a question.
He looked. The thing is, Dustin's huge. People don't understand that Dustin's a big guy. Like he's like, what is he? He's like 175, 180 in like the cage.
Yeah.
He cuts like a lot of weight. So like when people see him fighting Dustin's just a big guy. Like Connor looks like a lightweight. Like when he looked like Alvarez is also a pretty big lightweight too. So Khabib also 155 but he cut a lot of weight still. So 155 and 165 is a little weird because we don't really know who would like slide in there. I would say the Kevin Lee, because Kevin Lee, he's big. So I don't know how big. Like I was so excited to see him against Sean Brady, but we gotta wait for that. But yeah, that would have been very, very fascinating to see how he would do a welterweight because he's strong. Like he is athletic and strong.
Yeah.
So I feel like he'd be able to hold his own. But 165 would be interesting. You'd move 170 up to 175 most likely, and the cruiserweight. So this is something interesting. whenever a middleweight moves up to light heavyweight, it's never really gone that well for anyone except for
Yeah.
Silva.
Yeah.
Like, because Silva's big too.
Yes. He's
Silva's
like
a
6'3".
really he's a big guy, and he cut a lot of weight too. So like when Luke Rockhold did it, people thought, oh, it'd be pretty good for him. He's a pretty big middleweight. Did not work well. He looked a lot slower, and it was very visible.
And got smoked.
Yeah, at UFC 239, he looked very slow versus Blachowicz. And then you had Jimmy Manua, not Jimmy Manua. Wait, did Jimmy Manua? No, not Jimmy Manua. Who was it?
Chris Weidman tried to move up there for.
Yeah,
there's
Chris
an
Weidman tried
announcement.
to move up. That did not end well.
I mean, it's been successful for a few guys like Thiago Santos and
but Thiago Santos was just huge. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he was a welterweight at one point, so it was like, who else? So Jacare Souza. He tried his hand. It didn't work for him.
Yeah.
So it's a big jump. Like 20 pounds is a really big jump from light heavyweight to heavyweight is different because the pace is like. You're not cutting weight, so it's just like you could weigh in at like 230. Like you're like a light heavyweight, you cut from like 230 to 205. That's not that bad.
Sorry, go ahead. I know you're not finished. My bad.
So it was basically there's a really big jump between that division, the middleweight, and the light heavyweight. So a cruiserweight could be interesting, but I don't know. I feel like it just. I feel like we're fine in terms of the weight classes that we have now.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk about. It's just fun to talk about because we see. I don't know. Just what really got the discussion going for me is that we saw Adesanya go up.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was really high on Adesanya. Like I'm a big Adesanya fan. I really thought he could do some work at 205, considering he fought at heavyweight when he was fighting in Glory. He had a few heavyweight fights in Glory, so I figured it'd be not pretty smooth transition, but. It was either he can't do it or he wasn't taking it seriously. I just don't think he was taking it seriously enough.
I disagree. I think Israel Adesanya was taking it seriously. It's just that he didn't realize how much of a difference. He didn't expect the difference on the ground to make a factor. Yeah. That's the thing. Because Blachowicz is a very good striker. He's a great striker. So that wasn't the issue. It was that like them two would go tit for tat. That was fine. But it was the mass difference on the ground. Like you saw, like when Izzy tried to bridge or when he tried to hip escape or when he tried to literally do anything, he just couldn't. He was just too big. So I was like, I picked Izzy for the fight because I don't know. I just picked Izzy because I was like, why not?
Yeah.
But then I saw them. But then I saw the mass. I was like, oh crap, that's a very big difference right there. Like when he took him to the ground, I knew it was over. Like it was like that's the end of the fight. That's it. Like. Blachowicz is just gonna like keep control of his guard. He's gonna try to pass. Maybe he'll try to get it to mount or whatever. But it was never gonna like Izzy couldn't do anything. Yeah. So yeah, you couldn't do anything. So I think the mass difference on the ground. That's the reason why we had that weight classes really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why Dana White and the UFC in general don't want to implement more weight classes because I don't think they want to go the same path that boxing did. Because there's boxing, there's a weight class like every 3 pounds or something. Exactly. I don't know. And there's champions everywhere, and it's so hard to follow. Like my stepmom, she doesn't watch fighting at all. But every time we got boxing, she's like, "Oh, is this guy champion of the world? Is this guy champion of the world? Is this guy champion?" It's like, yes, they are. They're all champions of the world. So I think I think that's the reason why I would like. Because this weight cutting shit is like, if you do it properly, you can do it properly, but we've seen a couple of people that just want to have this advantage and this and that. It would be nice if it could be more like measured, so people don't take these type of risks.
Yeah, that's what One Championship's doing. They measure level. I forget
hydration
levels. Yeah, One Championship they measure your hydration levels, and I don't think you can cut more than 10 pounds of your natural body weight, something like that.
You fight at your natural weight. So for example, flyweight is 135, featherweight or bantamweight is 145. It's all every weight class is 10 pounds higher.
Yeah. So they're doing it same. That's a way to do it, but I don't know. I think UFC's like they've been doing what they've been doing for too long. I think it's set in stone. I think there's a very low chance you ever change it just because if it's not broke, why would you fix it,
I guess
Yeah.
so.
That's
And,
probably the way they would look at it.
Yeah.
What
Sorry,
what?
guys. I just want to skip onto one more topic that I just want to mention.
Of
All
I
right.
want to get Gabriel's opinion on this, because me and Ryan we're talking about it because we think it's the best division currently right now in the UFC, and it has been for many years, and which is lightweight division. Now, me and Ryan, we always argue who we see. Like, obviously, we had Khabib being dominant, smacking everyone, and if he would have stayed, he probably would have done the same thing. You never know. And me and
No,
Ryan, we picked.
he'd smack everyone for 5 years if he wanted to.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So me and Ryan were picking, who do we see like not being as dominant as Khabib, but like gonna be the new king of the lightweight division? And I say it's Charles Oliveira. For me, I see that guy beating almost everyone. Not
Fake champ,
everyone.
bro. He's a chump champ, man.
That's
No,
for me.
no, he's not a chump champ. I think Oliveira deserves to be there, but it's like
I'm just playing.
Okay.
he
Ryan,
deserves to be there, but it's like there's two guys for me.
Right.
There's
okay.
two guys. It's
Alright,
Islam and it's Fiziev.
Okay.
Yeah.
Islam
Okay.
and Fiziev. Fiziev, people forget, like, even though Fiziev like literally only strikes, the dude's a combat sambo world champion. Like,
Yeah.
like like combat sambo world champion plus like the Muay Thai boxing of Peter Yan. Like,
Yeah.
bro, that's scary. Like,
Yeah.
and
100%.
Peter Yan is scary. Like, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be Fiziev and it's gonna be Islam. Like, I
Yeah.
know Fiziev right now is like he's gonna walk through the top 15.
Yeah.
You think
So
so?
it's like, but Islam I already know
he already got bumped up to 5. Like he bumped up like a lot. I forget
no one was gonna fight him. No one was gonna fight
Yeah.
him like then. So it was
Same Usman
now-
situation.
yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, the rankings don't determine. The rankings are very like weird. It's more from the UFC. It's more for the UFC to organize the matchmaking than anything. It's not for the. It's to give the fans some reference, but it's not like, oh, this is the number 5 guy in the world. This is like there's no way that this guy would be like, no. Obviously that's why we have the rankings, but it's just. I think Islam smacks pretty much everyone. It's the wrestling, man. It's the wrestling, and it's too hard to stop. I think Fiziev and Islam are going to be the top of the division. Like Islam's going to be champ by next year.
Yeah. You think
Islam's
so?
champ by the end of next year, 100%.
This is the reason why I back Oliveira. Now, Islam, his wrestling is incredible, but let's not forget Oliveira's
Of course. I was a big Oliveira. I picked Oliveira to beat Michael Chandler. All my friends like, oh, Michael Chandler's gonna knock him out. And I'm like, watch
Got
it.
another one here. We've got Ryan here. He was telling me the same thing.
I was like, watch it. I was like, watch. I'm like, watch it happen. Watch Oliveira's gonna knock out Michael Chandler. I'm calling it. And all my friends were like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I told you, don't.
And his striking is clean. He's
underrated.
Never off.
He's
So
underrated
technical.
striking, bro. His striking is very, very, very good.
Yes,
it's improved so much since he started in the UFC. It's crazy.
My only thing against my only thing against Oliveira, I joke and say the chump champ, but my only thing is when you look at of course he's been, I think it was 8-0 his last fights. It's a questionable record for me because before the 8-0 he wasn't doing very good, but I guess that's kind of a dumb argument because you can say that for Brandon Moreno as well, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But my thing is he has a questionable record between 8-0. Like, I'm not saying any of the guys he's beaten are complete bums, but compared to the other guys in the division, like compared to a Poirier, who has he's beat Holloway, Hooker, McGregor, Gaethje, Alvarez.
Poirier has the best record. Poirier probably has the best record out of anyone at lightweight. I'm thinking almost including Khabib too, because it's like
because Khabib had a lot of, like, for his first 20 fights of his career. I mean, you can't really take that for the first fights of anyone's career. They're not really like significant.
It's not him making the fights though too. It's like people fault fighters for like, or people fall for his first 20 fights were against like nobody. Well, if you look at obviously, but it's not his fault. It's like he's not the one making the fights. Where except in like boxing, it's different, but you could protect someone. Yeah. But in MMA, it's like you get what you get. It's like you're given what you're given. And the UFC and MMA and the UFC, it's like you're given what you're given until a certain point where you can start calling out names. But yeah, I think Poirier's right. I think Poirier has one of the best resumes of all time in terms of who he fought and who he beat too. It's like Conor twice, Alvarez, Gaethje, Holloway. The Holloway win, bro, that's underrated.
Yes.
Beating Max Holloway in his prime, even though it was at 155, was
Yeah.
still insane.
And you can
Like,
make the argument he did. Maybe you can't make the argument, but to me, you can make a little bit of argument. He didn't do the worst against Khabib. Like there's definitely like he was one of the better guys to lose to Khabib, like in that fight.
yeah.
He almost
Like,
got him with the guillotine. He almost got him with the guillotine.
It was in, but
I'm not sure how close it was.
it was in, but it wasn't close. Like
Yeah.
people, it's like it was close, but it wasn't like
It wasn't
like
sunk
he
in. It
needed-
was more of a
he
neck
needed-
crank at that point.
He
It
needed
wasn't
to
right
pull.
on
He
the.
needed to pull guard. He needed to get the body lock there for
Yeah.
it to really like be really hard for Khabib to escape. And even Dustin said it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was saying,
Yeah.
"Damn, I wish should have pulled guard or got a body lock." I was like,
Yeah.
damn, he should have. But yeah, no, he did decent. Like he tried. He really tried. It wasn't like I
Yes.
wouldn't say it was a beatdown, but it was like it was he did better than most people, I would say.
Definitely,
I
he
think
definitely.
Gaethje was the worst out of all of them.
Gaethje was surprising to me. How
Gaethje disappointed me, to be honest.
Because everyone thought like, oh, he was an All-American or he was a
Yes.
collegiate wrestler. I think it's because he was a very defensive or like offensive or defensive wrestler, like that.
Yeah.
I think he just completely abandoned it, and he just like, I'm sure he worked on the on it a lot in the camp with Whitman, but the thing is
it doesn't matter against Khabib, man.
he even said it in the press conference. He's like, if he gets me on the fence, I'm screwed. But the problem is I think Gaethje was kind of playing like he was more focused on what Khabib was doing than what he was doing. So yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
And just one, who, since we're talking about Dustin and everything, we know the next fight is going to be Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. Who you got in that fight? And wait, and who you got in the Gaethje versus Chandler as well?
Okay, so
That's an early prediction.
That's an early prediction. It could
Early,
go-
early.
Yeah.
Because I already know who's winning. I already got my picks.
I know who you're picking.
Yeah.
People underrate how good Dustin's jiu-jitsu is, though. That's the thing. People forget that Dustin is like a really, really good jiu-jitsu practitioner, and really, Dustin is probably one of the most well-rounded fighters ever.
Yes.
Does he have any holes in his game that he can't do? He
Yeah.
doesn't have any holes. Oliveira, he doesn't have any holes either. But I think more his wrestling would probably have to be. But he's also good wrestling too. It's a tough fight, but I think with Poirier, I think it's gonna be in Louisiana. That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lafayette. Yeah, they're wanting to do in Lafayette, which could be crazy. That would be crazy if you won that in front of everyone. Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'm just waiting for McGregor to show up at the press conference or something.
Oh, that'd be funny. That'd be really funny. But no. I'm gonna go with Dustin, man. I think I just think because Oliveira was very, very close to losing. Like if he didn't pull guard, he would have lost the fight. It just I trust Dustin's fight IQ more than Chandler's because Chandler doesn't have the best fight IQ. Like he literally there was an interview with I think MMA on Point where when he like dove back in the 262 fight, like when Oliveira was on his back,
to
try to get the body lock off, and he was like, it was ill-advised, but it was he was like, it was ill-advised, but it was still entertaining. Like he said that like 3 times, and I was like, well, why did you do it then if it was ill-advised?
Yeah.
It was just like anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Dustin, and it'll probably be. I don't think he'll sub him, but I think he'll like TKO him probably.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a close fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I got Dustin too.
I trust
John.
Yeah.
John Carl thinks Oliveira would do the best against Khabib. Really quick before we end, what our final thing? How do you think Oliveira would have done against Khabib, against a prime Khabib?
Oh, he got smacked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He would nothing would have been different. I don't think
he got smacked. I think maybe I don't know. It'd be interesting because a lot of Khabib's fighters that he fought are like relatively the same like height as him. Like, and Oliveira's pretty long, so
yeah.
I don't know. It would be interesting, but I don't know. I just don't know.
It's hard to bet against Khabib.
You can't. Like you just can't. Like
yeah.
I'm never like I don't think because Khabib wasn't even 100% against Gaethje.
No, he wasn't. And
like,
he was talking about that in the podcast.
Not like he was 70, he was like probably like 70% and he still won. But like he literally was like, I'm switching to a triangle choke so that I don't break his arm in front of his parents. Like
beast.
like if you have to choose, like this is Anderson Silva like levels of like choosing how you're gonna win. Because at a point, Anderson, it wasn't spoken about how like if Anderson was gonna win, it was how Anderson was gonna
Yeah,
win.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
like no one has done that since Silva. It's like basically Khabib choosing how he was gonna win is just like that's not fair. Like that's
Yeah.
literally unfair. Yeah,
It's definitely.
that's not fair, bro.
Yeah.
Why would you like even like try? Like if he has a choice of how he's gonna win, that's don't even try.
And
And now,
yeah.
go on, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just no. You finish your point, Giancarlo. What were you about to say?
No, I was just gonna say now we got his fucking Islam coming up these fucking rankings, and he might be I won't say main as dominant, but he can easy enough do that to the rest of the fighters. The way not as good as Khabib, but similar, you know. So
Similar.
yeah,
Anything is
similar.
half as good as Khabib, bro. You're still gonna beat everyone.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
for real.
Like
yeah. So, all right, guys. I didn't mean to cut you guys off. But we are almost out of time. We had to record this podcast. It's pretty last minute, but I'm really glad it came together. Gabe Bench, YouTube, not YouTube, MMA TikToker. Do you have anything you want to plug right now? Your Instagram or YouTube or anything like that?
all my handles is Gabe Bench, so just go follow everything. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
We're uploading all the time. You know, that's how it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Gabe, thanks for hopping on, man. Like I said, I said this before the podcast. You really found your niche, in the TikTok community with, MMA, and a lot of people just post MMA clips like we were talking about earlier, just like McGregor's, like, all the McGregor dick riders and stuff like that, right? But you post actually meaningful content. I think a lot of people can benefit from just quick news, quick updates like that. That's all people need scrolling through. So I think you really found your niche, and you're doing a good job, man. You're representing the MMA community well. Yeah. Giancarlo, any closing remarks before we head out?
No, nothing really. Just thank you for this podcast. Hope everyone enjoyed this.
Of course.
And Derek Lewis is winning this Saturday. That's all I'm saying.
Imagine
Stay
that.
tuned. Stay tuned. Bro, he's gonna KO him. He's gonna get dominated and then just knock you out at the last second. That's how I see it.
I would love to see that happen just for fun.
That'd be funny, man. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Special interview, iPoke podcast. To see you guys next week with episode 19. See you guys later.